Hello, folks. Welcome to today's session. As you probably already know, today we are focusing on smart devices and a bit of a Q&A session for you here. So as usual, if you've attended one of these events before or attended a town hall before, we are going to kick off with a couple of introductions from ourselves, some updates on what we've been working on in the past, what we're working on in the future, and then we'll hand it over to our audience for Q&A. Alyssa, if you want to just skip to the next slide. In case you haven't already seen, folks, we are recording this session. So if you have any issues at any point with Zoom, you can head straight on over to YouTube and you'll be able to see the live stream there. So if you get any connection issues with Zoom, just head on over there. And I think that's pretty much everything. The only thing I want to caveat is please do try and use the Q&A functionality rather than the chat. It helps us keep track of everything a lot easier. We do have Jason and Chris helping out in the chat today, and they'll really appreciate it if you can do that. But otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Alyssa to kick off some product updates. Alyssa.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. So it's not really the updates for what's coming soon for the smart devices feature is at the end. But first off, for anyone new to the feature who are thinking about bringing over smart locks, smart devices, just want to understand everything that's going on, I'm going to do a quick overview here. So first off, you'll notice we've been saying smart devices a lot. So just a quick, what is a smart device? It's basically any IoT or Internet of Things device that is connected to the internet that allows you to automate tasks in your home. So that's like smart locks, thermostats, lights, cameras, action. Right now we only support smart locks, but a broader range of devices will be coming soon. So for our smart locks integration, what the basics of what you need to know, how it all works. We automate the check-in process. This is a big thing for allowing you to secure last-minute bookings so that you're not having to I don't know, wake up in the middle of the night or stop your vacation or something to go and stop your vacation to go and create a code manually, something like that. We can automate that whole process for you. And so your guests get their code at any time via a messaging rule or via one of the automated messages we send. I'll give more details on that. We also have backup codes that protect you. And if your check-in or check-out date or times change, then your codes are updated as well. So you don't have to worry about updating that separately on an app or anything like that. The smart locks also bring a lot of increased security, especially if you're not currently using a smart lock. Any codes expire and are deleted after checkout, so you don't have to worry about somebody going in and just like randomly clicking codes and magically getting the right one, or by luck getting the right one. And you can see in our dashboard actually if a code has been used and get notifications if they've been used. So that'll help you to know when a guest has arrived or if somebody comes in when you don't expect it. And you can restrict sending codes if guest verification hasn't been approved. So provides further security. You haven't gotten that signature or something like that, then you can stop it from going out. Quick overview of all the apps we support. So these are the actual smart device apps that you can connect. Schlage, August, SmartThings, Nuki, Igloo Home, and Yale. This is all the ones that are available through our managed smart devices. These are the ones you could actually see in our device dashboard app. We do have other third-party providers that you could use separately. You just wouldn't have quite the same functionality and visibility within our Hospitable dashboard. And then just an idea of some of the lock brands that we support. Got all the logos down here for you. It does say and many more because many of you may know, SmartThings is a really big integrator. They integrate with a lot of different brands, and we pretty much support almost any lock that SmartThings supports, as long as it can connect to Wi-Fi, as long as you can create a code, not like just a fingerprint or something, but it can create a code, it can connect to Wi-Fi, then you should be good. Now, this is a part of the big thing here. So I'm having to move our video. 1 second. So our smart locks integration. No more tool switching. The device dashboard that I've been mentioning, it allows you to see the status of your codes and your devices all on one screen. You can see some screenshots off here to the left. You can lock and unlock remotely. You can edit any of your created codes. As you can see, if you click on any of the created codes, you can actually see more details. A little modal pops up, and you can see even the whole status that you would see like in the property access section. So it's pending, it's created, it's visible on the lock. When is it going to be active? All of those things. You can also create codes for your team and see any notifications that you might have set up from your settings page. So you can see here in the devices section, you can see my test lock is actually super low on battery, but I did get a notification about it. And you can further go view codes from that device and then only see those device codes going through modals and things like that. In the settings page, you can customize all of those automation settings. So you can set a before check-in or after checkout buffer. And that's always particularly great. I recommend that. Not a huge one because whatever buffer time you create, we do set the code active on the lock. It was like check-in plus, in this case, it'd be a 1 hour buffer. But it's particularly helpful because sometimes, maybe somebody gets there a little bit early. You're okay with that. You don't want to have to worry about changing the check-in time. Then you're covered. But particularly for after checkout, I know I am notoriously terrible about accidentally leaving one thing, my sunglasses or, my wallet or something like that. And so this would allow me to be able to get somebody like me to get back into your rental without having to contact you and then you having to update their checkout time or, manually unlock the door or something like that. You can also change some of the customization around messaging, and you can set up your, which I will go into more detail about, and you can change or set up your notifications. You can receive all of the notifications just in your dashboard, or you can also get them via push or email. So, how to get set up with your smart locks. First off, be sure that you have a supported lock and that before you go to connect to us, you aren't connected to any other integration that automates the creation of codes. It messes up a lot of things and it will cause you huge headaches. So just make sure that you're disconnected from that. It doesn't cause any issues to disconnect to that first. When you connect the Smart Lock app to us, you would match that lock to the property where it's installed. You can have multiple locks at a single property or have a property. You could have if you had a duplex, for instance, you could have an entry door that's connected to both. An entry door lock that's connected to both sides A and B, and then you could have unique locks for just A and just B, and that all works just fine. When you do that, we will immediately attempt to match any of your current reservations or upcoming reservations with existing codes on your lock, so you don't have to worry about double codes being created or something like that. We will automate that reconciliation process. After that whole setup process or the initial code reconciliation and matching to properties is done, as soon as a reservation is booked, that is when we create a code on our end. And then we send it to our integration partner. The integration partner will set the code on your lock. I'll go into it a little bit more, but either 3 days before or about 10 minutes before, depending on your particular app that's integrated. If the reservation timing is altered, again, the code timing will be as well. It's automatic, so you don't have to go into your app or go into even your device dashboard to update the code timing there. But you can update the code timing in your device dashboard if you want to. But the status of each code is visible, again, in your dashboard, but also in the property access section of the guest conversation. Got a little screenshot over here. That's what you would see in your inbox. Now, as I mentioned, there are different code types, and your integration can change then what um, how these are set up. So you can have scheduled codes and you can have always on codes. A scheduled code is one that it's exactly as it sounds. It has a specific schedule and it can be sent to your device 3 days ahead of time. That's what we would do. And it's not active on the device yet, but you would see it on your device app 3 days before the start time. And the only app integration that doesn't support these is SmartThings. So for SmartThings, they only support always on codes. Always on codes are, as it sounds, they don't have a schedule to them. But we still get around this with reservation codes by only sending it to your device just a little bit before the code would otherwise need to be active. So we have a little time in there to do so. And then at checkout, we would send a request to delete that code from the lock. So we still meet the requirements of a schedule. But those always on codes can also be used in any of the integrations. If you, for instance, have like an owner code or something that always needs to be on, then you can create that and see that in your device dashboard and manage it. In terms of communicating the codes, you do have a couple of options. So first off, you have a custom option. You can add our smart lock code shortcode to any of your automated messages, your messaging rules, what have you, and send the code to your guest at any time, your own wording. But if you don't want to do that setup, there is the option of basically if no code has been communicated via the shortcode at check-in time, or when the code is supposed to be active, then we will send a message to that guest that contains their code, just to make sure that they can get in. And again, if you've already sent a custom message, we won't do it. We won't send anything to that guest unless a backup code is needed. And then for the backup codes, when you connect, you'll notice that there are 2 backup codes that are created for every property that is matched to a lock. We do that to make sure we always have one that we can grab if it's needed. Those backup codes are always on. And so that way we know that we can utilize it at any time when it's needed. And if a backup code does have to be used, it gets matched with that guest and that reservation. And then when they check out, it again will be deleted and we would create a new one. The timing of that message can be customized to be sent including or excluding any of your configured buffers. And you can do that in your setup page. Quick talk on pricing. So for legacy pricing users, so those who are not on the new host or professional tiers, right now, for the past 2 years now, actually, everything has been totally free. We wanted to make sure that we had everything really well set up and provide really great value and automation. But coming June 15th, anyone with devices connected will start seeing those devices added to their invoice. And then the actual billing for those will begin 1 month later. You will see an add-on charge of $5 per device for every device. But you will not be charged for devices that are only matched with an inactive property. And that's the case across the board. And there's pretty much nobody else not pretty much, we are the only ones in the industry that do that. But we understand, of course, that short-term rentals, it's a very seasonal business, which is why we have all of our pricing, even for our subscriptions, based off whether a property is inactive or active. And so we try to do the same here. For the new pricing tiers, if you're on the host plan, you can't have our managed devices with the dashboard and all that. But for the professional plan, we actually include 1 device for every active property at no charge. And again, we still don't charge for any of the ones attached to inactive properties. But if you do have more than 1 device at a property, then it is $5 per extra device. And it's not super relevant at this moment, but As you might have seen in the last town hall, we do have a future mogul plan coming, and that will include 2 devices for every active property at no charge. Now, for some coming soon items that you should be seeing, we will be allowing bulk operations codes. That will allow you to basically create a code for your teammates across multiple devices at one time, same code. So if you wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, I wouldn't recommend 1, 2, 3, 4, but if you had 1, 2, 3, 4 for your cleaning team at 3 properties, you could do that at one time. You'll also see a dashboard log coming soon, so you can see everything that you need to related to your devices, all of the just everything that's gone on, and any warnings that have happened, if backup code was used, different things like that. Here's just a quick mock-up of what we are looking at for that log. And the big one, the one I am super excited to get to, and I know a lot of you are as well, is thermostats. This will actually, so integrating with thermostats will allow you to automate different climate schedules for if your rental is empty, if you have a guest staying, if you have a teammate on site. And you can also, you would be able to see the current status of your thermostats, create and edit any schedules, kind of like the similar vein of how the locks work. But that one will be coming pretty soon. We'll be starting the work on that pretty soon, and I'm very excited about it. And that's it. I think I went a bit fast through my presentation, but if anyone has any Q&A, this is the time.
It was a little speedy. You may have to go back on some stuff. I think the questions are going to be on some of the stuff you already asked, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, we do have a couple of questions already in the Q&A. So I'll call those out for you. Also, just a reminder, folks, if you do want to ask a question live, you can go down to reaction at the bottom and use the raise hand function, and we can bring you on stage to answer that question. Okay, so first, sorry.
I do want to say, I just saw one here, and I actually meant to put it on the slide, and I didn't. But so the failure rate of our system is the failure rate is different. Okay, so if the success of a code without having to use a backup code is something like almost 98%. But then with backup codes, that kind of covers other instances where for some reason a code wasn't able to get sent. So you can kind of cover the majority of the rest of that. If a backup code not working and the original code not working essentially means something is wrong with your lock. You have run out of battery, or something about it has truly broken, or it's been off Wi-Fi for an extended period of time, or it has a really super flaky connection, things like that. But even without backup codes, you're looking at about a 98% rate. But yeah, go down, Miles.
That was one I was going to pick out, so that's perfect. So moving on to the next one from an anonymous attendee. For thermostats, will the thermostats via SmartThings be supported?
So there's lots of different thermostats, right? I think the ones that we're looking at first would either be Ecobee or Nest, but Honeywell is up there as a big one as well. There is actually, I have added every single thermostat option to our to our feature base, our feature request board. If somebody could put a link into the chat for that, you can actually go in, and if there's a thermostat that you want to see it added, please vote on it there. Same goes for any other smart locks that we don't maybe integrate with yet. You can add your vote there.
Cool, sounds good. Next up, I think I already know the answer to this one, but I'll put it to you, Alyssa, since you're the expert. Is there notifications for locks for low battery status?
Yes. I might have gone through that slide too quickly. But yes, in your setup page, so you can actually set the threshold that you want for a battery status notification as well. So if you're 2 hours away from your rental, and it's a little harder for you to get out there, and you have longer stays, you might want to set a threshold of like 40% or 50%, something like that. But if it's your in-law suite that's attached to your house, then you probably don't need anything, but maybe like 5%. So you can set a threshold for each device, and then you can get those notifications just in your dashboard, or also via push notification or email, and or email.
Perfect. Thank you. And then next up, question from Kim here. A lot of detail. Appreciate Kim. So just bear with me a second, Alyssa, as I read this out. So I found the smart lock feature pivotal and what keeps me with Hospitable. However, I'm running into an issue lately with the locks not syncing on occasion. If a unit is ready early, our cleaning team messages me and lets me know. We love offering complimentary early check-in. I've put it in a 10-minute buffer to ensure it has time to sync. The biggest issue, if there is an issue with syncing, the guest receives a message that appears as if we dropped the ball and messed up our door code on them. Can you please give the host the option as to if the message is going out to the guest? I cringe when I see this message was sent to the guest without my permission. I've contacted support regarding this and provided a solution, suggesting a 20-minute grace period instead. Then it was still happening at 20 minutes. The next advice of how to resolve this was provide a 30-minute grace time. This is a band-aid fix and hoping for a real fix. If you can shed any light on that, Alyssa.
So just to be clear, because I think this has been a common point of confusion, if you set a buffer, you're in effect you're giving the code less time to sync, because now whatever, say if your check-in is at 3 and you have a 1 hour buffer, that means the code has to be set and active at 2. So that's 1 less hour for it to sync, really. And what I would recommend, if you get a lot of last minute bookings, you have like a 20-minute buffer, you get a lot of last minute bookings or something like that, maybe select for that communication to not include those buffers. And so it's supposed to be set 20 minutes before, but the message to ensure that the guest gets in doesn't actually get sent until that 3 o'clock time, if that makes sense. Let's see. I'm just double checking this question.
And yeah, and Kim, feel free. Oh, Kim's raising her hand, so that's ideal. Let's get Kim on stage. We can get a bit more detail. Hey, Kim, I've just invited you on stage. If you'd like to unmute,
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
we can
Hi.
indeed.
Okay, and my apologies, I think I misspoke in using the word buffer, because I totally understand what you're saying. What I actually mean is that if check-in is at 4, and let's say it's 1:30 and my team says it's ready, I was making it active at 1:40, that wasn't working. So I was doing 1:50, that wasn't working. So I was doing 2 o'clock. So it was basically, I was receiving the advice of, I wasn't actually messing with the buffer. I misspoke. Is there, I guess it's kind of twofold. One, can I stop that message from going out so I can review if the lock has actually updated? Because often 2 minutes later, everything's perfect. It, and then the second part was, if my team messages me at 1:30, what would you recommend is the soonest I can tell the guests they can arrive? Like, or not tell them, but like update that code for active.
So you could, you could update that code's start time, or you could update the reservation check-in time. So if you update the
Hmm.
reservation check-in time, that would to now that would do it. Or if you didn't want to change the check-in time, but you wanted to change the code itself, then we just require it be 5 minutes in the future. So you
Okay.
could communicate that to your guest that the code will be active, or like you can get into, yeah, you can get into the property in 5-10 minutes, something like that.
Okay, I'll keep my eye on it. I for sure do more than 5 minutes. But the second part to that, could you look at, and you might run into reasons why not to do this, but could you look into allowing the host to decide if that message of, hey, we ran into an issue when creating your code, da da da, can you give the host the option to whether that goes out or not?
The problem, uh, the problem with allowing the option is essentially if we do that, it kind of takes away the whole automation piece.
Hmm.
It's the only way that we can, like, if a backup code has to be used, it's the only way that we can communicate that. And if you're, happen to be on a plane or just can't, like, something you
For sure.
can't go in there. It's the only way that we can make sure that your guest gets in without issue. And generally, I all for, like, very much ownership with the host and customization and all that, but I get very concerned sometimes in the instances when it comes to locks, because you could literally have somebody locked out in the cold at midnight or something like that. So we do want to make sure that people get in, and that's why we made the difficult and mildly controversial, but I think ultimately right decision to not allow that backup code message to be blocked.
Hmm. Okay, thank you for taking the time to answer that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for coming up on stage.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kim. Okay, great. And likewise, if anyone else wants to raise a hand to come on stage to ask a question, feel free to do so. Couple more questions for you from the Q&A, written Q&A. Alyssa, a quick question around the type of locks that are compatible. TD locks, TEDEE, do we support those? Do they ring a bell? I have no idea if that's the correct pronunciation.
Um, it I don't know what integration, like, it sounds
Sounds like
like,
it maybe seems supported brand, according to Peter, but
yeah. If it's for instance, if Seam supports the app itself, like a TD app, then it's not one that we support now, but we could in the future. I would recommend to vote on that in FeatureBase or in our feedback portal. Um, if it is supported by SmartThings, then uh, I would recommend going that route, and because we already support SmartThings. But we do have a pretty good list in our supported locks, or what locks do you support help article. And somebody can, Miles or Jason, y'all can put that into the chat. But it's not wholly comprehensive, because everything that's supported by SmartThings is pretty extensive, and it's shockingly a little hard to find a very complete list. I tried to do that for many hours one day, but I did as well as I could with the list that's in there. But I would recommend checking that out through SmartThings. Same with
perfect.
Vivint.
Yeah. And I've added that list in the chat now for anyone that wants to go and double check specific locks. Anthony, welcoming you on stage now. Hello.
Hey guys. Hey Alyssa.
Hey, Anthony.
I love what you guys are doing with this. It's so great. I'm glad you've been part of the data earlier on. The question that somebody asked about the smart things for thermostat, and your answer, I just wanted to get a little more clarification. So I know Ecobee comes into smart things. I know Nest comes into smart things. MISA comes into smart things. And I know you've broken out in the feature request all the different names and such. I just want to make sure if you're supporting smart things, does it have to be smart things and the specific manufacturer, or all manufacturers of thermostats that are part of smart things would be controllable at the point where you release that, or release control of
So
smart thermostats?
yeah, with SmartThings, I believe that, like, what is only, well, right now we don't have the infrastructure to support thermostats, but once we do, um, I believe it's not integration specific. However, it is device type specific, and I don't believe any thermostats come through. Uh, yeah, I don't believe any thermostats come through the SmartThings integration, through our integration partner. So it would need to be by the specific for right now. I imagine they're looking into it, but it would need to be through whatever specific thermostat device app that we integrate with.
Got it. So the level below. So if the parent is smart things, even though it's controlling Ecobee, you would need to have an Ecobee
You would
direct.
connect your Ecobee account. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
thanks.
for Box, it's more on the upper level side of you can connect your Smart Things account, and if you have a working device in there with code or with, enabled set codes and all that, then we should be able to support it.
Got it. Yep, that's perfect, and that works very well. Thank you.
All right, nice.
Great. Thank you very much, Anthony. Cool. So we've got a question coming in from our YouTube live stream now, actually, from Sharifa. Is there a plan to implement automatic codes for cleaners? So code created for a cleaner on the last day of a guest stay automatically. Code runs from checkout to time of X, however much time is needed for the clean.
Yes, that is definitely on our radar and something I would like. I didn't put it in my coming soon slides because it is not the very next things on our device roadmap, but it is definitely something we will be doing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. So let's just have another look. Nobody with a hand raised. A couple more Q&A though. Junaid asked, can you explain some of the potential reasons why a disconnect between the lock and the app may occur? For instance, network issues play a role, battery life, software updates. Yeah, just trying to get some background on that, basically.
Everything you mentioned is accurate. Yeah, so a lock can get disconnected because the battery goes out, or because your Wi-Fi went out, or if you use a hub, the hub had an issue, not even just the Wi-Fi. It could also be that, and this is definitely, we consider this is an electronic device that sits outside all the time. So if you are in a particularly humid environment, I know we have one of my colleagues that has a rental in Miami, and he really likes his Schlage locks, but he often has to switch them every year and a half or something like that because it's just so humid that it starts to degrade the hardware itself. Or if you're in a really rainy spot, say you're in Seattle and that lock is just right there in the elements, it's likely that hardware is going to degrade faster. So that could be an issue. If you start seeing a lot of issues in your codes being set, you talk to us and we say, it looks like your lock has a flaky connection. Usually we notice that when a lock gets a flaky connection, it doesn't usually go away. It could be maybe it was related to your hub, but it's often related to the device itself. And once it starts going in and out of service, or in and out of Wi-Fi connection and just dropping that, you might start shopping around again.
Perfect. I think there's one more question that Jason isn't already answering. Alyssa had mentioned being able to not set the code to be active if verification is needed, such as lease agreement signature, etc. And we get some Verbo bookings and would like to not allow code to be active till we check that they have paid in full. Is that possible?
It is not possible right now, to be fair. I would imagine that you're making sure that they have paid way before any of these communications would go out, way before check-in time. But yeah, there isn't a way to automate that at the moment. I think we are starting to get things in place where it's something we've been asked about before. It's something that I think would be great to do because right now that verification is based off of for instance, if you use direct with us, we have guest verification and things like that, and we with auto host, and we can stop that. And if you have a separate auto host integration, then you can have a setting to not send those messages if the auto host verification hasn't gone through. Great for the last minute booking instances as well. But yeah, for rental agreement signatures, for if a payment has fully gone through, those aren't supported yet.
Makes sense. Cool. And then we just had a question about adding to the list of devices in demand. Is the best place to go feedback.hospitable.com, or is there somewhere else you'd like those requests?
Oh, please add votes to add votes in the feedback.hospitable.com. It's super, super helpful. And I would just love to see everybody in there more. Not only can I base my decisions of what we start working on that data, but also there's a lot of other really great feature requests in there, not just for device integrations, but all sorts of different things. And so we always want to make sure your voice is heard and we're building what you need. So this is a big helper for that. So please, please use it all day.
Great, awesome. And then a very quick entry here from Natasha. I joined late. Did you already discuss the possibility of being able to integrate the Honeywell T9 thermostat to your property? And if so, do you think it'd be possible to have the temperature drop at a specified time so the indoor temperature is ready for guests? And I think that's a good kind of general question for thermostats and what the intended kind of functionality is going to be once we have those integrations.
Yeah. So yeah, you can set up one. Honeywell is an option. Please vote for it in the feedback.hospitable.com page. As in terms of the functionality of it, yes, you can have schedules of, say, when there's a guest, I want the thermostat to be like this, and if allowing, say, like a buffer before the guest arrives, it takes about X, however long to get the climate all nice for your guest. You could set that kind of buffer, and then it would apply to the overarching schedule. So yeah, you would be covered.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, folks. We're going to just linger a minute or two in case anyone has any more questions. Currently, there's nothing else in the Q&A and no hands raised, but we welcome any questions or feedback you have. So
And
yeah,
apologies to anyone that came in late, that I talked way too fast through the presentation. And but you will be able to see all of the slides and all of the information on YouTube and everything later. So
great. Yeah, and Jason's added that recording to the chat, the link there, so if you need to reference that. So a couple more questions just before we wrap up. So Paul, timeline for thermostat integrations. What are we currently looking at, Alyssa? And I know that's always a tough question to put to a product team.
it is poor practice for any product manager to tell you a specific date. But what I can say is, if you're already a user, you probably know that we're going through, just doing some billing changes and things, or, adding pricing tiers for new users and things like this. And so once we're done with our work there, we can start to focus back on new features for our devices. And I think you should be seeing thermostats start being worked on. I want to say, like, definitely within a month. I would like to be working on those. I can't say exactly when it will be done, but when we start. And in terms of, I see a question from Petra about other functionality of thermostats. I don't believe it is an option with our integrator to restrict how much manual changes are allowed on a thermostat. That would be something that I would have to dig into the documentation of each integration a little bit more to see if that was an option, but I don't remember seeing that.
Makes sense. Okay. And then Vince just had a suggestion for us for the thermostat buffer as well. So have it check temperature between bookings as well. Cleaners often lower the AC and forget to raise it. It would be great to have a check every night, for instance, between bookings. Thank you very much for the suggestion. And then I think one final question just come in, and then we'll end it. Natasha, another question. What about the possibility of integrating the MyQ garage door opener, similar to smart locks? That way a random code can be created for guests, active only during a reservation, etc., etc.
Yeah. So I know I'm going to repeat myself again, but I actually did add a lot of these garage. We don't have any smart garage door device integrations right now, but I have a whole list of them in our feedback.hospitable.com page that you can vote on. Basically, I think I might have added and I don't know if it's either a general one for garage doors, or I might have actually added every single one that our integrator supports, so that y'all can see those in there and vote on them. But I think that would be a really cool one, especially if you like allow people to, use your canoe and you keep it in the garage or things like that. Like that could be really fun one.
Cool. Awesome. I think we're going to have to cap it there. I've just linked to the recording one more time. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. If you do have any more questions, please go and check out help.hospitable.com. Plenty of resources there to tell you what smart locks we support and what's coming soon. And also, yes, please head to feedback.hospitable.com if you do have any smart devices that you want Alyssa to prioritize. She's listening, she's reading, she's looking at those upvotes, and she's paying attention to that. So yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you all for being here.